name's Paul Roebuck. I'm a patient of the University Hospital Coventry and Warwick. I live near Tysoe in Warwickshire, which is South Warwickshire. And my story starts April 2017. I was in Las Vegas with my wife, looking out of the window. Well, actually, I just got up. Looking out of the window of the Vidara Hotel onto the Bellagio fountain, and I realised at that moment that an ongoing taste of blood in my mouth was something that I ought to deal with. So I vowed to contact the hospital, or I vowed to contact my dentist when I got back, which I did. I went to see the dentist, lay back in her chair. She opened her eyes, took one look inside my mouth and went, "Oh my God, you need to get checked." I was like, oh, I knew I did. My tongue's always been a bit of a problem. It's always, I have something called lichen planus. I don't know if I spelled that right or pronounced that right. Picking my nose. I'm going to clip and edit this video, and I'm going to put photographs into it to try and dramatise it, I suppose. It'll be a bit like a movie by the time it's finished, but here I am just creating raw content. So what happened after that was I went to Warwick Hospital, turned up, went in, sat down, they had a look at my tongue, took a little biopsy, so they cut a tiny bit off it, not particularly uncomfortable. I went back about 2 weeks later, and the person said, "Unconclusive, it's unconclusive. We don't think it's cancer." We shouldn't say cancer, the C word, which is desperately poor. It's called cancer, so please use the word. You may be uncomfortable with it, I may be uncomfortable with it, but it's something you've got to face, you've got to get on with, so, you know, calling it other things just doesn't help. So, I left there feeling fine, I'm fine. I couldn't eat curries, I couldn't eat hot food, I had to be careful with my tongue, it could give it a little bit sore. Anyway, a couple of days later, I received a letter from Coventry Hospital saying, "Dear Mr. Roebuck, please come for an appointment to see Mr. So-and-so." That's weird, but I thought, okay, well, I'll go to Coventry. So I went to Coventry, walked into this room. There's a consultant called Dr. Walton, or Mr. Walton, sat there with one of them miners-like things on his head. It's like you've seen it on the Carry On films. Sat there on his chair. He's like, "Sit down, Mr. Roebuck. Let's have a look at your tongue." I thought, "Oh." So I opened my mouth, he looked in it, he's like, "Yeah, we need to get that checked. I want to send you for a CT scan, and I want to do a biopsy." Well, okay, that's fair enough. I didn't know what that meant, but off I trekked. Went home, went about my life, carried on doing whatever I was doing, and then a couple of weeks later I had the CT scan. I didn't really know what that was for, but and they were scanning my chest, which obviously was scanning from here up. I think that must be what the order is. It's chest up, but obviously it was mouth. But what I didn't realise was they were looking for whether it had spread. I didn't know that. I thought, why, looking at my tongue. Anyway, I went back about 2 weeks later for my biopsy, and I went into the room and I said to the lady, I said, "Have you heard about me CT scan?" She says, "Yeah, it's clear. Your CT scan came back. Yeah, it's absolutely fine. I'm just here to take the biopsy." Oh, wicked. So I thought, I'm going to be fine, there's nothing to worry about. So then she set about cutting a patch out of my tongue. Now she cut a proper piece out of my tongue, and it bled, and I cannot describe how much it hurt. And I cried and cried and cried on the way home. And as the anaesthetic wore off, it proper hurt, which was about 90 minutes later. I got feeling it was Friday night. By 8 o'clock that night, I was in absolute agony. You can probably hear my washing machine as well, I'm sorry about that. Absolute agony. She gave me some gauze to put on it, but we went through that in an hour. And I'm at home Friday night, nowhere I could get, I live in the middle of nowhere I could get any gauze that's sort of oral based. So anyway, I got through that. The morning after, it was fine. I think I drank coffee the morning after. The tongue is incredibly resilient. If you think about it, it does all our dirty work, so this thing can survive anything. And I think that's probably why when it does get cancer it's quite serious, because it's such a resilient organ. If something gets in there, then it must be powerful to have got out there in the first place. Anyway, so I had my biopsy, thought no of it, thought, well, I've been told it's unconclusive, and I've been told that the CT scan's clear, so I thought nothing of it. A couple of weeks later, by now it's early August, It was the 10th of August, I can tell you precisely. I was out shopping for, we were going to Vegas with my son for his stag do, and we were going dressed as grannies. So I went out, bought my granny's outfit, came back, sat in the house, having a cup of tea in the back garden. I remember it like it was yesterday. 5:20, went into the kitchen, put the kettle on, took a cup of tea, and noticed the answer phone message was flashing on the house phone. You know, use house phone, see, but I thought, oh, so I pressed the speak button, and this lady came on the phone. Mr. Roebuck, this is Carol from the hospital, Mr. Walton's secretary. Mr. Walton's going on holiday tomorrow evening, and he'd just like to see you before he goes. I wonder if you could come in and see us tomorrow morning, 11:30, at the hospital, Ward 10. So I'm thinking, fine, I'm like, that's cool. What he wants is he wants to get me off his to-do list, so he doesn't come back to minimal pay. You know, he gets all the dross off his to-do list, so that when he comes back from his holiday, he's got his proper casework and he's got rid of the people he didn't really need to see. By chance, a very good friend of mine, my wife was away. My wife was in the wilds of Canada. She was in a place called Saskatoon, which is 6 hours from nowhere in the middle of the wilds of Canada. So she said, "You got to take somebody just in case." Okay. So I took a friend, she drove me there, I took a friend, went in, walked in, sat there. They sort of opened the doors, called me in, said, "Mr. Roebuck, yeah, off you go." I walked into this room, and they were there with his mind, I was like, on his head. But on this side of the room, there were about 6 or 8 or 9 people sat in like a semicircle in a chair in the middle, like the mastermind chair, waiting for me. And that spooked me. I thought, ooh. So I went and sat down, he put his hat on and looked in my mouth, and Mr. Roebuck, we've had the results of your biopsy, and they're positive. So I thought, awesome, positive, they're positive, so I'm scot-free, I'm away with the fairies, I'm going to be super fine. And then the penny dropped, thinking, no, it means it's positive, it's cancer, they found cancer. I'm like, oh, Tallulah. I said, I'm like, so what are you going to do? So we want to operate. I said, what do you mean operate? We want to, it involves cutting some of your tongue out and replacing it with some skin off your arm. I said, you what? He said, yeah, we cut some of your tongue out and we take a graft off your arm and stick that in your mouth. And then we take a graft off your belly to put on your arm. I'm like, sounds complicated. I'm like, what are you doing now? He said, well, your arm is your soft bit of skin, so it won't affect you. I'm like, I said, well, it's only a little pimple on the side of my tongue, like, sort of on one side of my tongue. So I took a photograph of my tongue on my phone, handed it to him and said, can you draw on there where you're going to cut off? And he sort of drew a line almost diagonally across my tongue. I'm like, no, I looked at him, I can remember thinking, are you thick? You know, you're supposed to be a consultant, it's a bloody mobile phone, sorry for swearing, it's a mobile phone, what are you doing that line there for? Show me where you're going to cut it off. He's like, that's where we're going to cut it off. I said, which bit? He went, that bit there. I went, no, you must have that the wrong way around. He's like, it's beginning to dawn on me. I'm thinking, oh, Tallulah, they're going to cut half my tongue off here. I said, how much? He said, we're cutting about a third of your tongue out. Holy Tallulah. I said, who's this lot? He said, oh, these are your surgeons and your, what I didn't realise at the time, this is called your multidisciplinary team meeting. This is what a cancer patient gets when they go to the hospital for their results. There are a group of people in that room, all the professionals and specialists, that are going to tell you what to do. First person, I said, who are you? He said, I'm one of your surgeons. What do you do? He said, I do the microsurgery, stitching the blood cell back in from your arm into your mouth. Second guy said, what do you do? He said, I'm a surgeon as well. I said, what you do? He said, I'll be doing the main reconstructive plastic surgery. I'm not having any plastic. Obviously that's the cosmetic stuff, and they asked me, I'm a bit of a mess. Third guy, what are you? I'm a speech therapist. I said, what are you doing here? I said, I'm going to teach you to speak again. What? Yeah, I'll be coming to see you once the surgery's over, after about a week. I said, well, after a week, what? I said, well, yeah, I'll come and help you learn to talk again. I can talk fine, thank you. By now my heart's in my stomach. I'm thinking, what is this? Fourth person, oh, I'm a dietitian. Oh, that's awesome. I said, that's really good. I said, I need to lose some weight. He said, don't worry, I will do. I'm like, why? He said, well, I'm going to teach you to eat again. thinking, wow, if you're going to teach me to speak, he's going to teach me to eat. This is really serious stuff. Got to the next person. Who are you? I'm your oncologist. Okay, what do you do? I'm a radiologist. So you just zap it out. She says, no, you don't want what I can offer you, sir. Mine is your last resort. If you have to use me, then it's, we want to be the fallback in case the surgery doesn't work, because we damage so much of the rest of your mouth that it's too invasive. I said, so I'm not having you. She said, no, so you can go then. And she got up and walked out. Then there was a Macmillan nurse. He assured me, Paul, I know him, I've known him now for 5 years. Paul assured me he'd sort of hand-hold me through the process and so on and so forth. Then there was a nurse that was just there, I think, as Dr. Walton says. Then there was my best friend. So I turned back to this chap with the miner's lamp on. I'm like, when are you going to do this? I said, what is it? How long does it take? He said, it'll take between 8 and 12 hours. It's major surgery. And we'd like to operate a week on Tuesday. And I remember thinking, having my tongue on a week on Tuesday. I need it. I've got stuff to do. I've got people to see. I've got people to talk to. So as you can imagine, I left that meeting, a couple of minutes later. The meeting was only, I bet it was less than 15 minutes, 10 minutes. So I went home. It was just, it was a bit of a blur. I could recount it, but I haven't got time because I've used 11 minutes already. So I went for a second opinion in Birmingham. That man said to me, get yourself in, get your tongue cut out, do not delay, do not postpone, do not collect 200, get your tongue out. So I went in on the 4th of October and surgery was or 3rd of October, surgery was on the 4th. I was in there for 7 hours. They cut a third of my tongue out. They managed to salvage the muscle bit underneath the tongue. I'm not going to show you because I think it's ugly, but there's a big patch off my wrist there has been stuck on my tongue. Had the surgery was a complete success. They did a tracheostomy, which is where they cut a hole in your neck, so I couldn't breathe, I couldn't talk, because obviously your voice box is inactive when you've got a tracheostomy in place. Day 6 they came along. Bear in mind, I'm a talking therapist for a living. That's where those 2 chairs are behind me. I'm a psychotherapist, so talking is arguably my most important necessity. So I came up from surgery, 6 or 7 days of horrific experience in intensive care. It was brutal, it was very uncomfortable. And day 6 they took out the thing and then he put his finger on my tracheostomy and said, you can speak. And I spoke and I could hear my voice and I broke down, and that was the moment that I realised I got through this thing. I wish that washer had shut up. But I got through it was just a matter then of recovery. So the process for me then was get fit, eat as much as I could. It was really difficult to eat. You don't realise how much you use your tongue to move food to the back of your mouth and down your throat. So it started with baby food and went on to custard and melted things, and after about 12-16 weeks I got to the point of being able to eat what you recognise as regular food. And I think a week 16 I ate a sausage roll, and that's arguably the hardest thing to eat for someone who's had this surgery. And from then went back to work after 8 weeks, continued to go and see the surgery every month or every couple of months, and I've done so for 5 years. I'm 5 years clear now this October, and I'm going back to Las Vegas tomorrow because it's my 60th birthday. The main message I wanted to relay to you as a GP group is the persistent, consistent and realistic feeling of reoccurrence, not only of cancer in my mouth. So if I catch it or scratch it or it hurts or it's sore, it's got a pimple, I'm hyper scared. Every night as I go to bed I think about my tongue, I sort of give it a feel, and every morning when I wake up I think, is there any different feelings in my mouth and my tongue, blah, blah, blah. It's less so now after 5 years, but up to 3.5, 4 years it was horrific. But what's even worse is I also interpret any other things going on in my body to be signs of end of life. So if I get a cough, it's cancer. If I got an itch on my foot, it's cancer. If I've got a pimple on my bum at the moment, so I'm thinking it's that monkeypox disease. I've got monkeypox, I've got a spot on my bum. I need to disclose that, I know. Time's running out, but suffice to say that That's why probably people like me become a bit more vigilant and might be a bit more of a problem in your surgery, because we come a little bit more often, because we're just utterly terrified of reoccurrence of the first thing, or any early warning signs of anything which might lead to our premature exit from this earth. So that's me, Paul Roebuck. You can follow my story on our Facebook page called Tongue Cancer Journey. Everything is there, from the first consultation in Warwick to, I think I did one at Christmas, or I did one on my anniversary this year, 4th of October. I hope this message gets along. I can't thank the people of the University Hospital Coventry and Warwick enough, and for my GP in particular, and more importantly for my dentist who looked after me. But that's the story. I hope it makes some sense, and I apologise once again for the washing machine. That's 15 minutes, 47 seconds, unedited. Good luck with that. Bye bye.